The today's topic, what we really wanted to talk about is the subject that activity is king. And let me just do a quick sound check. Michael, you are available? You're on, right?
I'm available.
You're good. And Jimmy, you're good as well, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Um, activity, activity, activity. Here's what I can tell you. All good things happen because of activity. We did a call a couple of weeks ago when the title was um, um, what was the title? Massive activity equals results, I think. And this is going to kind of, you can almost consider this as like a segue to that car, but or to that video. But we're going to go over some things, not only about how activity is so important, but tracking your activity is even more important. I think we like using like the baseball analogy of how baseball players love tracking activity. How many times do they get on base? The pitchers are always they're always focused on their ERA. Hitters are focused on their batting averages. How many times are they getting to first base? All different types of stats. As sales professionals, we need to do the same thing. We need to learn how important the activity is because nothing good is going to happen without activity. You are never going to succeed in this business without having activity. And not just activity in the sales part of it, but anything that you want to get accomplished has to involve massive activity. Learning the sales script, massive activity. You want to learn the sales script? Say it to yourself, repeat it, read it on paper 100 times. What I do is just to give you a real quick tip when it comes to learning sales scripts, because sometimes it's really hard to read the whole, to memorize the whole thing. Just learn to memorize the first sentence. Just get the first sentence down where it just like rolls off your tongue. Then do the second sentence, and then just keep building upon that. In-home presentation, same thing. Don't think you got to like, oh my God, I can't go run appointments until I memorize the whole thing. That's crazy. I tell agents this all the time. The only thing you have in the beginning, your presentation does not need to be perfect because perfection does not exist. Perfection is overrated. You just need to be good enough. And there's only four things that you need to be able to do in an in-home presentation. Number one is that you need to be able to get through the pre-sale folder. I mean, can you just open up the folder and just kind of share the information and go through the memorial guide and what funerals cost, and it's easy. And while you're doing it, you're probing, you're asking questions. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, out of curiosity, have you folks done any pre-planning? Oh, you have? Well, are you leaning more towards burial or cremation? What do people do typically? What do most people do in your family? You're inquisitive. You're just asking questions. Can you do that? Then can you simply transition from the pre-sale folder to the flip chart? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, let me show you how the programs work, and let me go over all the guarantees with you. That's the transitional statement. Now you're doing the flip chart. You get through the flip chart. Now you're going to ask them some health questions. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know this may seem crazy, but I'm just required to ask you this question. Do you currently reside in a nursing home? They're going to chuckle. Oh, well, any other major health issues like, have you ever had a heart attack, stroke, cancer? You keep it light. You don't want to keep it like it's not the Spanish Inquisition. You're just keeping it casual, keeping it light. And then can you transition from asking a few basic health questions to identifying the proper carrier, and you're just doing a 3-option close. That's it. Just do those four things. That's the activity. So I always tell agents this is that the most important thing is how many presentations a week are you doing? Like, and at the end of the day, if you're a full-time agent, You should be focused and you should be dedicated on making a minimum of 12 to 15 presentations um, a week. But it's all about activity. And when it comes to Jimmy and I were talking about earlier, we were talking about agents engaging. Here's what I can, here's just, listen to me, please, please, please. It's hard for me to mentor and coach an agent, a new agent that I only talk to once a month. It's better if we're having daily activity. Have you ever heard the saying, it's hard to steer a parked car? It's impossible. It doesn't go anywhere. You can turn the wheel all you want. But have you noticed whether it's a car or a boat, especially a boat, the faster you go, the easier it is to turn? I mean, if you're doing 100 miles an hour on the freeway and you just barely turn the wheel, maybe even like a like a quarter inch, you notice how fast it reacts? Well, coaching and mentoring is the same way. The speed of the agent is the faster the agent's going, the more activity they're doing, the easier it is for us to coach you. If I hope that totally makes sense. And I'm going to go over a couple of things real quick, and I'm probably rambling, and I want to get this to the guys that really know what they're talking about. That's Mike and Jimmy. But what I want to do is I want to share with you guys just some ways. And if you really want to, if you want to coach with me and you want to mentor with me, is that I'm going to need you to provide me with these daily activity trackers, because I'm going to be asking you tough questions like, well, how many phone calls did you make? How many door knocks did you make? How many scripts did you do? And if you can't answer those questions, it's going to be really hard for me to coach you, because a lot of times an agent will call me and all they do is, well, I got this one guy that said this, and the other guy said, well, what about all the other people? Let's not focus on the 3 people that had some crazy BS excuse that no one would be able to sell them. What about all the other, um, uh, clients, the potential clients? So this is what the daily activity tracker looks like, guys. It's a PDF form. What I recommend is that you print off these. What I used to do is I used to print these off, and I would print them off in a little bit of a not regular paper, but just like an upgrade, like a little bit of a heavier stock. And then that way I could do them double-sided and the ink wouldn't bleed through. And then I would take them to Kinko's or, Office Depot or wherever, and just put them in a binder, like get not a spine, but what do they call that? The coil, um, coil it. I'll show you a picture here in just a minute. But this is it right here. So this is what, and I used to get 27 of them front and back. So this is my whole year. I would get this little booklet and I would carry it with me everywhere. It would be in my car. If I'm making dials at home, it's right by my house. And I got stacks of these at my house. And what's cool is, back in the day when I used to do a lot more recruiting, a lot of it was face to face. I would take my activity tracker and use that as a recruiting tool. And when people ask me, well, how much can you make? Well, let me show you what I'm doing. And I'd pull out my activity tracker and open it up and say, listen, here's the whole year worth of activity. You want to make $250,000 in personal sales like I did? This is what you need to do. And just show it to them. It's an amazing recruiting tool. Trust me, it will either motivate someone, or they'll look at it and say, I can't do that. And if they look at your activity tracker and they said, this is too hard, you don't want them anyway, right? So I'm just telling you, it's an amazing recruiting tool. All right, we're going back to when let me move this over. Joe was a full-time producer. It's been a few years now, guys. I do still go out and personally produce. I rate about $50,000 to $60,000 a year in business. So not a lot compared to what I used to do, but most of my time now is spent obviously running the agency. But let me get a let's see, I'll do a laser pointer. This is pretty cool. So how these activity trackers are is that you just kind of you kind of fill in, you just print them, and then whatever month you're in, that's where you start. So month, you just put in July. Now we put in August, change the year 2019, and then I always started my week out on Saturday. Okay, so I did my numbers set, and Friday was the end of the week. So Saturday's the beginning. In this example, the date was the 11th through the 17th. Dials, what does this mean? The little haystacks, every time I made a phone call, it's a little tick mark. Now you guys know my little trick is that when I make phone calls, I call every lead 3 or 4 times. I call, I hang up, I call, I hang up, I call, I hang up. I count every tick mark. So this doesn't mean I called 59 leads. I might only called 10 leads or 15 leads, but I multiple dialed them and I got 59 dials in. Probably took me 2 hours to do 60 dials, roughly. How many scripts did I do? Well, in this particular case, I got 12 scripts. I booked 5 appointments. I didn't do any door knocks. Saturday or Sunday, got back on the phone, 38 dials. How long does it take to make 38 dials? Probably an hour. In an hour, I read 5 scripts, booked 2 appointments. What does that mean? That's 7 appointments. That's 7 appointments that were scheduled for Monday or Tuesday. Okay. Of course, didn't do any door knocking. Now Monday, really didn't do a lot of dials. Maybe I dialed a little bit in the morning. Remember, like when as a full-time producer, you don't need to be like sitting in an office to do phone calls. You can do activity anywhere. So I would always take my stack of leads with me. And sometimes if I was in between appointments or if I got no-showed and I got fresh leads, man, I would just get on the phone and I would pound the phone and try to get same days. Hey, Mr. Smith, Joe Johnson, do my script. Hey, I just happened to be right around the corner. I wanted to get this information to you. I could be there in about 20 minutes, or do you need something a little bit later in the day? I love same days. Same days are awesome. So in this particular case, I think that's a 21, did 21 dials, probably took 20, 30 minutes to do that. Had 4 scripts. I was managed to book an appointment. Even though I had 7 appointments over this time period, I was still able to squeeze in 3 door knocks, had 1 script, but I didn't make an appointment. I guess I got blown off that day. Of the 7 appointments I booked over here, it looks like I got in front of 5 people. I made 5 presentations, wrote 3 applications. I just put in my AP over here, picked up 6 referrals. Safe money is that, did I find any annuity opportunities? I did not. Okay. Oh, and STP, I don't know why I have blanks there, but STP means show the plan. So if you're recruiting, I think the new ones have that. That means how many new potential new agents did you talk to, and agents contracted. Let me flip up. Let me go to this other. Why isn't this going? Hang on. Jimmy, you can still hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't know why my mouse isn't working. I'm not able to advance the page. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Let me get rid of the laser. There we go. Let me go back the other way. Okay, so on this particular sheet, I think I took off the show the plan and contracted agent. So I might have had a special sheet that just I was working on. So let me get back into Tuesday. Tuesday I was able to make 19 dials. I did 2 scripts, 1 appointment. But look at the door knocks, 17 door knocks. I had 5 scripts at the door and 3 appointments. Now, if you door knock someone, I'll just show you how to do your activity tracker. If you do 5 door knocks, as an example, and you get into 2 houses, then those would, or three, that would be 3 appointments and 3 sits, if that makes sense. How many apps? 2 apps, 1387, 5 referrals. Wednesday, still panel. Guys, I feel like you could always find time to make 20 to 30 dials a day. Okay, it's less than an hour, you know. Squeeze it in somewhere. 4 scripts, 2 appointments, 21 door knocks. That's a lot of door knocks. Was caught 7 people at home, 4 appointments, 4 applications, no, 4 sits, 3 applications. It's a pretty good day. 2352, 7 referrals. Thursday, on the phone, 17 dials, 2 scripts, 1 appointment, 16 door knocks, 5 scripts at the door, 2 appointments at the door, 2 sits, 1 app, 381. Every day I wrote an app this week. This is a pretty decent week. I didn't blank all week. Almost did on Thursday. Friday's activity is usually a little bit less because we got the morning webinar, so all this activity is after noon, typically, sometimes 1 o'clock. A lot of the appointments I go are at least an hour away. Was able to get in 11 dials. Just had 1 script, 1 appointment, 11 door knocks, 3 scripts at the door, 1 appointment, 1 sit, 1 app. It was a good one. 787, and got 3 referrals. So now I got a total snapshot for the end of the week. Did 197 dials, which is not a lot. 30 scripts, 13 appointments. Had some no-shows in there, obviously. Door knocks, 68 door knocks. I read 21 scripts at the door. I had booked 10 appointments at the door. Had 15 total presentations. That's a combination of door knock and phone appointments. Wrote 10 applications, $6,898. Easy math. That's an average of $689 per AP, and I got 23 referrals. Hopefully I was able to convert some of those. If I take the application to sit ratio, if I take how many sits I did, divided it by the number of applications, it came out with 66%. Remember, some of those include doubles too. I probably had a couple of double pops, so probably sold 50% of the houses I was in. So not like it's something great feat of salesmanship. It's just a lot of activity, and that's what we're talking about today. Is that activity is king. So your activity tracker should look like this. But in order for your activity tracker to look like this, you need 20 to 30 leads coming in, or a crap load of B leads to supplement. So whether it be telemarketing leads, Facebook leads, direct mail leads, you need a lot of leads to have the activity to do this. Now, my weekly goal as a full-time producer, my weekly goal was 250 dials and 100 door knocks. Now you can see from these numbers, I didn't get anywhere close to my goal. But you got to have big goals. You got to set the target high. And remember, we always talk about this. When you set a big goal, never adjust your goal down. Always adjust your activity up. But it's okay if your goal is to do 100 door knocks, a week, but you only get to 68. Sometimes that's a good thing. That means you happen to catch a lot of people at home. There have been times I've gone out, I've done literally 2 days of door knocking and just like talk to one person and like 40 door knocks. You know what I mean? So you're going to have weeks like that, but you keep going to your target number of 100, then you're going to pop those people at home. What I have found is on A leads is that for every 10 door knocks I do, I average 1 appointment or one application. Now the thing about it is I wouldn't know those numbers unless I tracked my activity. And for me, it's always very comforting to know that it's law of large numbers. So if I have a day where I do 20 door knocks and I don't make any sales, I know tomorrow when I do 20 door knocks, I'm probably going to write like 4 applications. because it's just that's the numbers, and I've been tracking my numbers for years and years and years and years and years. So I just know what they are.
Hey, Joe, I'd
Um,
like to jump in here and take a different perspective.
yeah, go ahead.
Can you go back to your activity tracker?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm going the wrong way.
So the first thing I'd like to point out is
Hang on
that
1 second, Jimmy. Let me
make that bigger.
let me flip through here. Sorry. Okay.
What I want to point out is that's July 2015. Guys, it's hot in July. You know, it's funny too, Joe. That's when I started, July 2015 with Senior Solutions. And so
Oh, that is funny.
I remember Joe sharing this week with me, coaching and mentoring me as a new agent. So that's what stood out. I remember these numbers. And I got to tell you, I've had weeks like this, many weeks like this, and I tracked my activity just like Joe's showing you now. Here's what I want to point out to a different perspective, okay? If you take a look at his total annualized premium, 68.98. Even if you're at the lowest contract level, your advance commissions is going to be somewhere about $5,000. Okay, so think about this. Okay, you do all this work and you're going to make $5,000 a week. Guys, that's 20 grand a month, right? That's 240 grand a year. Okay, so let's put this in the right perspective. I want to ask you a question, and I hope you're still listening, right? What would you do? What type of work would you be willing to do for $5,000 a week? Hard work. What would you be willing to do? I want to tell you some of the things that I've done. I've done roofing in July, and that's brutal. On that hot roof, tearing off shingles, throwing the new tar on. I mean, it's rolling it on. It's tough, right? I didn't last very long. I couldn't hang. It's brutal. But you know what? I wasn't getting paid no $5,000 a week. I probably could adjust my tolerance if I was getting paid $5,000 a week. I've done tree trimming. I'm talking about getting way up there, dangerous, hanging with ropes and chainsaws, 20, 30 feet up in the air. I've done um, where I've cut down trees. I've done landscaping. I've done all kinds of outdoor work. I'm in Texas, so we're in the oil patch, right? Like how many guys in Texas, Oklahoma area would be willing to go out there, work brutal heat, dangerous jobs, and in the oil field, like they normally work for 2 weeks, 24 hours a day, and they don't get to come home. And then they come home on the third week, and then they go back for 2 more weeks, and they come back. I mean, like, what would you be willing to do for $5,000 a week? What kind of work would you be willing to do if you knew you would make it, right? Guys, I got to tell you, this is a lot simpler. It's work. It's still work, and you have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined to keep plugging away and not calling it an early day or starting late. I mean, work is work. If you have massive activity like this, you're going to have massive results. So here's what I can tell you. Nothing is guaranteed, right? Like if you don't go and tell anybody about your story, then you're not going to make any money. If you have people to talk to, i.e. leads, then go tell them your story. Go do the work. Go plug in. Do the activity necessary. It's work. Don't mistake it. This is not easy. The sales idea is simple, right? It is a simple strategy. It's not complicated, but it's not easy work. It's hard work, but it pays well. Get out there and bust your butt, man. Get out there and roll up them sleeves and go knock on some doors. And I promise you, you're going to have similar results. If you can go out and you can do this many door knocks and this many calls and you do, that many sits, you're going to have similar results. So just get out there and do it. So yeah, it's not guaranteed, but if you do the results, if you do the activity, you're going to see the results. And then it makes it so much more fun. It makes it so worth it. And then you're able to play hard too, right? So, I mean, you work hard and then you take some time off, you go play hard, or maybe you treat your spouse to something or your family. Maybe you have kids, you buy them that something that they've been wanting that you hadn't been able to do for them in the past. You know, here's the solution. It's right here in front of you. It's called hard work. So, Joe, I'll give it back over to you.
Well, thanks, Jimmy. The other thing too is that I'm just looking at these numbers. There's nothing really great about them. The only thing that looks impressive is like 6,800. Like that's a pretty good, that's a decent week, right? Almost 7 grand in premium. But if you look at all the other numbers, they're really not that impressive. I mean, I booked 23 appointments and only sat with 15 of them. So if you do all the percentages, they're just kind of pedestrian. They're really not all that great. The difference is there's just a lot. You know what I mean? That's the only difference between this, maybe what this activity tracker looks like in your activity tracker, meaning the audience activity tracker. There's just more activity. That's all it is. The closing percentages aren't any better. The door knock to, the book, booking appointments percentages aren't any better. There's just a crap load of activity. That's it. And that's kind of the point of the call today. Just you want if it's a numbers game, which everybody says, oh, it's a numbers game, it's a numbers game. Okay, let's say it is a numbers game. Then you want the odds in your favor, right? You want big numbers so they work out. Last thing I'm going to do.
The other thing too is consistency. He did it every day.
Right.
Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Now, the last thing, I don't have one of these filled out. I could have done it, but besides keeping a weekly activity tracker, and then, by the way, you could always do, you can do this on an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, but, some things are just better if they're old school. And I call this technique being low tech, big check. Okay. So, when I'm doing my little tick marks on my activity tracker, I don't want to have to log into an iPad and do all that crap. I want to be able to physically have the paper here. The other thing that I would always do on paper, so I could carry it with me, is this little sheet right here. I'll show you what I used to do with it. Let me get a pen or highlighter, if you will. Change the color of it. Here we go. So what I would do is I would print out a whole bunch of these, put them in a 3-ring binder, and I'd have like my whole year set up. Print out 52 of these and simply track every single week. But I'll show you how I would simply use it. Obviously, I put in the month, the year, what the dates are, and then this would be for 1 week. And a little bit optimistic, I have enough room for 19 applications. I've never written 19 applications in 1 week, but I wanted to be kind of optimistic. So you just put in the date, put in the client's name, their phone number, the city, the carrier, what the product was. Typically just use initials. So if it was like Mutual of Omaha, Living Promise, I would put in MU, and then I would put in FE for final expense. What my AP was, I would write it in, and then paid comp. This I would highlight it. Once I would like cross-reference this to my commission statement to make sure I got paid. And then the call, that means that I make the call to the client. I'd kind of use this as my check to say, hey, did I make the call to the client to let them know that their policy was approved? What I liked about this is that I could carry it with me. I could have it in my car. So sometimes if I had a downtime, I would just make my phone calls. If I had 6 applications from the week before and I'm trying to get a hold of a few people, I got everything at my fingertips. I got their phone number, their name, the product, and then the AP, so I could figure out what the monthly premium was if I needed to, and whether or not I called them. And then I would just put totals down here. What my total AP was for the week, how much comp I got paid, and then keep track of the leads, the amount of leads received, appointments booked, presentations, applications, and then what my conversion ratio. So you can kind of come up with this is just to give you an idea. You can come up with your own system. But what I would highly recommend is do it in paper. If you want to convert it to an Excel spreadsheet, that's fine. Do both, but definitely have it in paper so you can kind of have it with you. You can physically look at it, and you can take it with you. So, guys, I know I feel bad, man. I like monopolized like so much time on the call here. And Michael, are you still there? Are you still available?
I am here, my friend.
All right, man. I know you're busy and you're driving. I always appreciate you, and I value our friendship. And thanks for being on the call. But man, could you just give us some words of wisdom and just share with us some of your thoughts about how activity is truly king?
Yes, sir. You know, we have a saying in this industry: there's no activity writing applications without activity. And we see this over and over again, ladies and gentlemen, that the experience, not knowledge, is king in this business. You learn from doing in this business. And it was sort of explained to me like playing golf or tennis. You know, you can sit in the classroom and learn about the tennis racket and the golf club all you want to. Joe and Jimmy, you're never going to truly know if you like golf or tennis till you get out there on the court or the course. But more importantly, you're truly not going to know what questions to ask until you get out there. Once you get on that course of court, you're going to have a whole new set of questions. The same thing here. It's one thing to talk about door knocking and using Road Warrior to go out and see 20 people. But until you actually do it, until you actually experience it, you're not going to know where you need to have your game tweaked at, where you need to be tightened up at. And that's the true thing of mentorship. And that's how Joe and Jimmy will work with you right here. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to win every one of them. This is a numbers game, as Joe said, and it takes massive activity. Joe and Jimmy, you probably heard this a lot of times as well. This business is a lot like the game of baseball. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, and some are just going to get rained out. As we both know, you're not going to win it all until you get out there and start playing the game. And so the biggest thing, please avoid the most dangerous word in this industry. And Jimmy and Joe know this word. It starts with a W, and that's wait. You don't need to wait. You need to get out there and fail as soon as possible. If you know your first 20 to 25 leads are going to be the ones that you sort of bloody your lip up and skin your knees up a little bit, you need to get out there. Because like Joe said, you can't steer a car that's not moving, and you can't steer an agent that's not in activity. So take that leap of faith. Senior Solutions is by far the largest and most profitable agency in the Your Insurance Group nation. They lead the way. You have the best mentors out there. But this system will not work unless you work. So you're at the right place in the right time in history. Take that leap of faith as God favors the bold and the humble. Jimmy and Joe?
Very good. Hey, let me just make one little comment, and I know we're running way over, but, it's kind of funny is that, new agents and, getting out into the field. And guys, I know sometimes, we live in a microwave society where people are looking for instant result. I mean, we got everything instant, right? But you look at these kids that go to college for 4 years and spend 100,000, if not 150,000, with room, board, and everything that their parents do. It's a 4-year investment costing minimum $100,000 with no revenue, just in the hopes of being able to get an entry-level job that maybe will pay 30, 40, 50 grand if you're lucky. Maybe if you get into a high-paying field first year out of college, maybe 50, 60 grand a year at best. Guys, you got to kind of look at this the same way, is that, but you don't have to wait 4 years, but you're making that an initial investment, getting leads and going out there, like what Mike said, getting your lip bloody. That's part of the learning curve. It's part of the educational process. Sometimes it's expensive. If you guys read the Magic Formula, you know my story. I bought 19 final expense leads, didn't sell any of them. That was an expensive learning curve. But I knew it wasn't the leads. I knew it was me. Like, I just needed to get better and just keep tweaking, improving my mindset. And eventually I got it. But that was my educational process. And we're continuously going through that educational process. You never, they say you're either growing or dying. So I don't want to be dying. So we need to grow. We need to continuously improve ourselves with education, with mentoring, with self-improvement, but it takes activity. Just activity on every single level. And with that, if you guys don't, if you have any closing comment, that would be great. If not, then we're going to go ahead and wrap the call up with that.
Well, guys, I'll leave you with this right here, and got some good news right here. And Joe and Jimmy know this is true. Hard work beats talent every time that talent hardly works. So if you're willing to commit to working hard, this is an industry that you can be super successful in. So just stick close to Joe and Jimmy and their mentorship and work hard, and the results will just be natural. They'll just come as part of doing the right things the right way in the right timing with the right people.
Awesome. Perfectly well said. Jimmy? Maybe Jimmy tuned out already. All right, man. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. And if you need anything, give me a call. Take care. Bye-bye.